Beep, beep, boop, boop, beep, beep. Anyway, that's what I'd sound like a robot. Welcome back, everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's gonna be Xena, the random bot, gonna be taking on negativeZero, the currently top reigning bot on the scene, which is no small feat. There are some incredible just works of programming out there on the bot ladder, and so being on top of it is quite impressive. We have got, negativeZero, the top Protoss bot, top bot at the minute, dethroning Eris briefly, then getting knocked back down. I'd say at the time of recording this, it's probably been on top of the ladder for about a week, which is very, very impressive. And so we're going to see how it does against another bot that's consistently high up on the ladder. It is Xena, the Zerg bot. Well, Zerg this time, the random cheesy bot. And so, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead and click that like button. If you haven't already, give the like button a lick. I don't know. Anyway, leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. You can let me know what sort of bots you enjoy seeing, if you have any questions about the bots, that kind of thing, as I read pretty much every comment, even all the more bots ones over and over again, but it does make me chuckle every time, and it does help with the YouTube algorithm, so those comments are very much appreciated. If you're new to the channel and you're just happening to wonder what the heck is going on here, what have I stumbled into, you have stumbled into the wonderful world of StarCraft 2 bots, and if you want to see more of them, just click that subscribe button as I put up new videos every day. And yeah, you can also ring that bell to get notified whenever I put up a live stream or a tournament announcement, that kind of thing. And yeah, just big thanks to everyone that does support the channel via the YouTube membership. I was thinking like I might set like a goal that I'll try and program a bot or something if we hit a certain amount of members, but I don't know if that would ever work. I have taken one computer science course, or one or two computer science courses, and then I have done like a little bit of programming on the side. I'm just generally tech savvy to the extent that people bug me with some of their tech problems. Anyway, we've got two adepts for negativeZero coming on in across the map to Xena, so we'll see how well Xena defends against this. Looks like it's trying to pull drones to fight the adepts, kind of pushing them away at the expense of one drone. Scouting probe does die, and now we do have Xena going up into this Roach Warren. Currently, it is a 2-base Zerg up against a negativeZero that is going for a 1-base Robo build, which I think in theory is pretty good for the Zerg, right? Like just staying on 2 bases, making some roaches. Looks like Xena is going to be going for a burrowed roach build, if I want to say. Just the first one listed in the chat there is burrow roach, 76%. These roaches are trying to chase down the adepts, which are doing a great job of denying the Zerg's mining time. However, looks like Xena is getting on top of those adepts now, so only one remains, and it does shade to the back of that base, so it may be caught and killed. Great programming by Xena to say, yes, these roaches can kill that adept, so they dive right on top of it. And now, Xena is going into burrow behind this, so it's going to have burrow against a 1-base opening by negativeZero, which, if there's no observer with this push, just the presence of burrow could really, really help out Xena. Now, that being said, 3 Immortals, I want to say, or X amount of Stalkers, probably close to 6. We can actually do some quick maths. 18 damage versus Armored. Versus, so it's like 7, 8 Stalkers to one-shot a Roach. So if negativeZero has that many units and it has very good target firing, it can kill these Roaches, despite there being burrow, but in all reality, there will most likely be roaches surviving in a fight because of this. We've got Xena powering, just making a ton of roaches, similar to the roach maxes of the old days. It's a very powerful build, supercharged by the speed mining. Xena sees the Protoss army, though, and immediately turns around. One Roach burrows to stay alive. A second one successfully burrows, but the third Roach does not successfully burrow, so we've got some of these Roaches getting planted like potatoes. However, negativeZero's army is just so strong and powerful that these Roaches really are getting damaged down incredibly quickly. Stalkers deal bonus damage to Roaches. Immortals deal basically fatal damage to Roaches for the most part. And we're just kind of waiting to see whether this Observer is going to cross the map for negativeZero. Currently, it doesn't seem to be heading over there. It looks like negativeZero is programmed to prioritize getting the Observer over to the third base to ensure it has an expansion. A macro-focused choice not to go with this push, which is an interesting choice if negativeZero is programmed to, well, if it's focused on going for a third base, but I don't think it really is. And we've got just this continuous fight going on right now in which Xena just burrows Roaches once they take some damage, unburrows them, and I mean, most of them are staying alive for the most part, but look at this. As soon as they pop their heads out of the ground, they're immediately going back underground, and Observer does show up for negativeZero. Xena sees that and immediately begins retreating because the programmer has done good work saying, yeah, if my Roaches are seen by an Observer, there is no point keeping them in the ground. So Xena does retreat, and the trades for negativeZero were fantastic. That was 29 dead Roaches, despite them being able to burrow for most of that fight against the killer army of negativeZero. And negativeZero really lost no units during that fight. One Stalker took a little bit of damage. So Xena has no choice but to play this one out a little bit. It's currently 2 bases to 2 bases. There's a third on the way for Xena, though. negativeZero, it has not secured up that third base yet. So, but I will say, I think Xena is quite lucky based on the micro and the engagements that went on there, that negativeZero did not take that push any further. By the way, look at the Observers for negativeZero. I don't know why they're positioning like this, but it's like they're just hanging on the outskirts to give absolute max vision, I guess. So that's very beautiful. Anyway, we do have double Immortal production on the way for the Protoss. So this Roach killing army is just going to continue to grow and grow. We've got a Forge about to finish up for negativeZero, so +1 attack is on the way. Meanwhile, Xena just gets up its third base. It's got double Evos on the way. It does have a Spore building at that third. Enough drones to quickly saturate up the third is quite important. And Xena has produced a few Lings to back up its surviving Roaches, which are much fewer in number than the Roaches that once lived. So let's see, we do have Xena now going into a Hydra Den, so it does seem to be transitioning into a bit of a more rounded composition. And Hydras are vastly superior against Immortal Stalker than, well, say Roaches are, because Hydras, they deal lots of damage, they have high range, but then they also don't take bonus damage against Stalkers and Immortals. They're not the tankiest units still, but they are better than Roaches, so negativeZero does just sit back for now. It hasn't gone for an attack out on the map. We have got these constant Adept Shades being tossed on out by negativeZero to provide the most vision, a cool programming feature by bot authors. Sometimes pro players will do this, but not nearly as consistently as a bot will. negativeZero will send those out every time and cancel them at the absolute last second. We do have the Zerg going up to 1/1 upgrades on the way. Getting out Infestors could be very good for Xena, as negativeZero does have a bit of a Death Volley army, so Infestors, maybe even Neural Parasites could be useful against this. The Observer Flock has grown for negativeZero, though, so it just sort of spaces them out from the center point of the army, it seems, which is very, very cool that the bot author seems to have programmed this behavior to scale as well. Like, it was 3, they were, well, spaced out evenly, now there's 4, and they're spaced out evenly again. So that's just really, really neat to see the effects of the programming there. We've got Charge on the way for negativeZero. It's a 3-base Protoss against a Zerg bot that's up on 4 bases, but going up to a 5th right now. So the macro is fairly even right now. The longer the game goes on for Xena, the sort of less impactful those 29 Roach deaths will be. in the long run, but then it's like Xena still has to potentially take on this killer army of negativeZero. I say potentially. In reality, it pretty much has to take on this army if it wants to win the game. We do have those Hydras. They will soon have 1/1 upgrades done, which will definitely help out. Grooved Spines is about to finish up. Glial Reconstitution, Neural Parasite, Pneumatized Carapace, you name it. Upgrades seem to be getting researched for Xena. The Protoss bot is now stepping out onto Creep to bring the fight to the Zerg. I mean, the Creep could definitely help make this fight happen for Xena, though, as it will be able to pounce on this Protoss army a little bit quicker. negativeZero does have a bit of a habit sometimes of splitting up its army, so we'll see if that hurts it, as some units go south, some units go north. This could actually be a great opportunity for Xena, as it does decide to try and chase down these Immortals. The micro of negativeZero is phenomenal, though. Look at these units. They're taking damage, but they are always retreating. If they're not shooting, they're retreating. It's really quite impressive by negativeZero. We've got Xena saying, ow, ow, run away, nope, saying that it can't take this fight. And so it does seem to have a bit of a tough time. An Immortal gets hit with a Neural Parasite, but there's actually nothing to punish it. And the Immortal does seem to be afraid of the enemy Immortals, so maybe that's something that's not programmed into Xena, which would maybe be a little bit better. If Xena was programmed, like, once a unit gets hit with a Neural Parasite, make it just take a fight, chase after any unit that it sees. I'm not sure if it's got that programming in it or not. So negativeZero, it steps out onto Creep. It does get rebuffed by Xena. The trades seem to be fairly even, what, like 2 Adepts and 3 Stalkers for some Lings and Hydras. So maybe favoring negativeZero once again. The Protoss bot is just about maxed out with this killer Death Ball now. Lots of charge, lots of Colossus in the mix. How many Immortals is there? 8 Immortals, and Xena's got to try and fight against this with Roach, Ravager, or just Roach Hydra, pardon me, no Ravagers. Couple more Neural Parasites do go down on some Immortals, but they're actually not really being targeted down or doing too much, so I think the Neural could be a little bit more efficient for Xena. You don't need to be too critical against that, though, seeing as how, well, Xena is a random bot that mainly cheeses for the most part, so the fact that its macro is as good as it is quite impressive. We do actually have the grouping of Xena seemingly doing quite well against the army of negativeZero, as a few Immortals do get picked off. The Hydras are doing quite well for themselves. And the Protoss bot has expanded towards the right side, but now it's getting pushed on the left. As Xena looks to push on in, we do have a recall from negativeZero. That's one of the few bots that actually utilizes that behavior. It's just a single Immortal that gets recalled. We see a battery overcharge to try and keep that alive. Unfortunately, the battery gets targeted down. negativeZero has got its Colossus in the back, and it is trying to hold on to this position, but the Neural Parasite grabs another one of the Immortals. It looks like Xena does elect to retreat. The Infestor pays for its life. The Immortal gets its revenge. It says, nobody controls my mind. And yeah, let's see here. Xena goes up to a Hive. It's got 2/2 on the way. However, the Protoss bot will soon have +3 attack done, so that's quite a formidable upgrade advantage. And let's just see whether Xena can hold on against another move out by negativeZero. negativeZero is splitting up its army, Zealots and Colossus in the middle of the map, so it's not attacking with its whole force. An Immortal gets hit with the Neural Parasite. It doesn't get targeted down like bots such as Eris do. However, I mean, once that Neural Parasite ends, it dies. But I think maybe that could be... I don't know. I don't know what the best approach is to program a Neural Parasite. I think it's probably getting enough efficiency as is. We will soon have that +2 attack on the way for Xena, so that's going to really benefit the Hydras. They are units that have high attack speed, so that means the upgrades scale greatly with them. Both of these bots are close to maxing out. The Zerg will probably stay on this pretty similar composition. Xena is not a bot that has really a dynamic composition when it plays Zerg. It doesn't like to make Corruptors, that kind of thing. It just really relies on, like, Roach, Hydra. It does have Infestors and Vipers, but it's not going to make, like, 20 Corruptors if negativeZero goes into Skytoss. We do have Disruptors going out for negativeZero. Pretty good micro from Xena, however, it does eat a few shots. Infestor barely avoids that Nova. Fungal goes down, but it kind of whiffs there. And the Protoss bot is pushing on in. We see all those little clicks on the ground for Xena all over the ground as the Protoss bot is pushing forward still. These Hydras may have a tough time against the 4 Colossus now for negativeZero. We do have some Zealots going for some harassment on the left side, as the Protoss is really just pushing the Zerg into this 5th base location right now. The Zerg still has quite good production, though. We'll see if Xena can overcome all these Colossus that negativeZero has. They do seem to be quite a threat right now, as it's like War of the Worlds over here. Hydra's getting just melted right now. We have got negativeZero adding in Blink, getting +2 armor on the way. And I'm a little bit concerned now for Xena, as it does lose this hatchery on the left side for really nothing, basically. There is random Zealots running around and harassing by negativeZero. Xena seems to be more focused on grouping up its army. Drones are at least fighting the Zealot instead of running away from it endlessly, which is very cool micro on these drones, but Xena is starting to fall in supply. The Colossus are just getting incredible efficiency against the Hydras as the Zerg bot is being pushed away. Xena's had a good economy, but not an amazing one where it can afford to lose this many units. The Disruptors are getting Novas tossed on out, and the Colossus are just continuing to push on the front. And this is where we see Xena get punished a little bit. Maybe not going into Lurkers hurts it a bit, maybe not making Corruptors hurts it. Either way, it does seem that the blue Zerg is going to go down to the top Protoss here today. Incredible play by Xena. A very cool match to see Xena's Zerg try and take on negativeZero. But I guess this result kind of makes sense. We saw in the chat tags from early on. I don't know if you guys saw, but Xena's macro build with Zerg was 0-6 against negativeZero. And that's fundamentally what this turned into, a macro game. Which, yeah, I mean, it's understandable, and just well done to negativeZero. Just the army control, as always, is so killer. Not really making any big mistakes or anything like that. Like, it killed 29 roaches without losing a single unit. It was just really well done. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this game, make sure to go ahead and click that like button. Leave a comment down below saying more bots. And, yeah, subscribe. If you're still watching up until this point and you're not a subscriber, what are you doing? And then, yeah, big thanks to everyone that does support the channel with the YouTube membership program. I don't have a patron or anything like that, but the link to support via the membership program is down there. And yeah, just big thanks to everyone for tuning into these bot videos. Anyone can program a bot, for those of you wondering, as, yeah, there's plenty of guides out there on the sc2ai.net Discord. If I ever program a bot, I will certainly be making use of some of those. And yeah, just you can put a bot on the ladder. There's lots of bots that are newer, so your bot isn't going to play negativeZero if you put it on the ladder right away. That would be a little unfair. But yeah, there's plenty of other projects on the ladder, so you can have some fun working on a project like this. Frickin' lasers, man, as negativeZero goes about its business, cleaning everything up. GG.